Years ago on the Nvidia leak. I've been waiting with bated breath for it, just waiting and waiting and waiting, and nothing is happening. And we might know a little bit more as to why nothing is happening, because we got some new news on that front today that I do want to share with y'all, and I definitely do think that's worth the sub as you come and you join a party and you level on up with me. With your sub, your like, and your brand new hype, it always helps me out a ton. Thanks so much for that. So if you've been like living under a rock or something for the last 4 or 5 years, let me just tell you, there was an Nvidia leak, and 8 different titles were leaked that Square Enix was going to be putting out. 7 of those 8 titles have been announced. The latest one that just came out was the Final Fantasy Tactics Remaster. The only title that is still yet to come out is the Final Fantasy IX Remake. Even in the leak back in the day, 4 or 5 years ago, they said, hey, Tactics is going to be a remaster. But they also said, hey, 9 is going to be a remake. Everything that they said has come to pass. So this is a very, very, very reliable leak that happened. But we just got some new news today as well from another leaker, Nate the Hate, who has a long track record of, basically being right about everything. And because of what he said, all it takes is one search on Google and all you see is doom and gloom. Final Fantasy IX might be on ice, it's unclear of its future. Final Fantasy IX Remake cancelled. Final Fantasy IX possibly cancelled, according to Nate the Hate. Final Fantasy IX Remake development on ice, says leaker. Final Fantasy IX Remake in trouble and possibly cancelled. It just goes on and on and on. So I kind of want to, just kind of quell your fears and actually look and see what is going on, what exactly he actually had to say. So this is from a tweet that happened just yesterday. Oscar Perez says, hey, Nate the Hate, do you have any news about Final Fantasy IX's remake? Is it cancelled or is it still in Square Enix's plans? Nate the Hate goes on to respond. He says, I have no new information to share. For now, I would assume that the game is on ice and the unknown is whether Square Enix will return to it or not. So did he say it was cancelled? No, he didn't. He said, I have no new information to share. He said he assumes the game is on ice. He doesn't know. He's assuming. I mean, he could just be developing the game still. It could just be a wait and see process. And that is what I want to talk about now, because I see a lot of people saying, oh, just because Nate the Hate doesn't know, that means it's canceled. Or just because he says it's on ice, that means it's frozen and it's canceled. Or it means that Square Enix is clamping down on all these rumors and saying like, hey, let's lock ourselves inside of our warehouse and actually work on this thing in silence and not let people know about it like a good game developer does. Maybe take some notes after Nintendo or something, although that's not the best person to say because they also just got leaked with Pokemon just the other day. So we can go back to this article back in 2023 where Jeff Grubb literally says the Final Fantasy IX Remake is real and it is happening. So we know that it is going on. At least they have been working on it since not only the Nvidia leak, but still well into 2023. Then we know that whenever Final Fantasy XIV Dawn Trail expansion launched in 2024, y'all remember this, there was a ton of Final Fantasy IX themed items. In fact, Yoshi P said himself, you may have noticed a lot of Final Fantasy IX references here, but the reason is a secret. Wow, I wonder what the secret is. Guess what? In 2024, they were still working on it. It may have just hit a snag. It may have just hit some sort of development hell, and they wanted it to come out with Final Fantasy XIV, but they couldn't line up the releases. You know what I'm saying? So that's probably what happened there. Then we know the Final Fantasy IX 25th anniversary hit, and lots of different stuff was coming out for Final Fantasy IX. It was a huge celebration. Everything came out for Final Fantasy IX except for the Final Fantasy IX Remake, because I think that it's hit a snag. I think that it's hit some sort of development hell, and they were like, okay, well, we planned on getting this out for 25th anniversary, but we couldn't do it. So instead, we're going to announce Final Fantasy Tactics. We're going to get that one out first. And the reason why I'm saying this is look at Dragon Quest. Look at what they're doing with some of their other series. Look at what is happening with Square Enix. Did they put out Dragon Quest 1 and 2 first? No. They put out Dragon Quest 3 first. Why did they put out Dragon Quest 3? Probably because they could finish it first. Originally, they said that the reason was that it was a chronological order sort of thing, and maybe that was what it was, but the thing is that Yuji Horii himself announced Dragon Quest 3 and 1 and 2 all at the exact same event. They all got announced at the same exact time. The whole event was about Dragon Quest 3 for the most part, but he let it leak that Dragon Quest 1 and 2 was coming out. So now, what's going on with Dragon Quest? Wouldn't you think that after 1, 2, and 3 comes out that 4 would come out? No. 7 came out. And why did Dragon Quest 7 come out instead of 4? Well, Yuji Horii himself was asked this question. It says, Toshimura asks Horii, why does Dragon Quest 7 getting a remake now instead of Dragon Quest 4, 5, and 6? His response, Horii comments, there are various projects in motion. It just so happened that 7 happened to get completed first. Toshimura takes this as a subtle confirmation of other remakes, asking, so it's not just that you're working on 4, 5, and 6, right? However, Horii keeps things mysterious, refusing to go into further details. So basically, they're basically doing what with Dragon Quest what they're doing with the Final Fantasy series. They're saying, you know, hey, we finished 7 first. It would have been great to have 4 out, but 7 is done, so let's put that out. And then they're like, oh, you know, it would have been great to have Final Fantasy 9 out for its anniversary. Or maybe it would have been great to have it out to coincide with Dawn Trail, but Final Fantasy Tactics was finished first. So we're going to put that one out first. It is still in development, and also, they want to get as much money out of this as possible. So what are they doing now? Well, they just announced, just the other day, guys, they just announced that Final Fantasy 7 and 8 coming out as a twin pack, and 9 is launching physically in North America. So, would it make sense, just think about this, would it make sense for Square Enix to announce Final Fantasy 9 and Final Fantasy Tactics at the same time? No, that wouldn't make any sense at all. It would make sense for them to say, okay, hype train Final Fantasy fans are going straight on in to Final Fantasy Tactics. Let them buy Final Fantasy Tactics. Let them go ahead and buy that up and wait a bit. Okay, well, we need something for Christmas too. Well, we got these physicals of Final Fantasy 9. We can't announce the remake first, because if we announce the remake, no one's gonna buy the original physicals. So they go ahead and they announce the original physicals. And then once that happens on December 9th, then they're going to turn around. They're not going to let it cannibalize Dragon Quest VII, which is coming out early next year. They're going to wait and they're going to say, okay, well, we still need a Final Fantasy to come out in 2026. Now is our opportunity. I think it's going to get announced maybe around March or April to come out later on in the year. Assuming that the development hell isn't going on, assuming that there is no other development snag, because as you know, Final Fantasy is an annual series. It has been since 2020. The remake came out in 2020. Intergrade in 2021. Stranger of Paradise 2022. Then 16 in 2023, Rebirth in 2024, Final Fantasy Tactics in 2025. So they're just releasing what they're finishing first. Just because Nate the Hate does not know what is happening, just because he says it's on ice, does not mean that it's canceled. All that means is that he doesn't know, and that they're still working on it, and that they're still chugging along and getting it done. So I'm basically coming to y'all and saying, don't freak out. It's definitely still happening. It's just a matter of time. Think about it logically, folks, and have a good day.